For your next vacation, visit another world. A world that grabs your imagination and never lets go. This is Walt Disney World. With Epcot Center, magnificent resorts, the Magic Kingdom, and the Disney MGM Studios theme park, the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. For information or reservations, call 1-407-WDisney.
Coming to video stores everywhere, Tom Cruise in the video event you've been waiting for. Cocktail. Rent it on video cassette.
See it tonight at Major Video, El Paso's super video stores.
What is real?
Is she for real?
Is she for real?
Is that for real?
Well, what is real?
This is real.
Skittles.
New tart and tangy. New wild berry. New tropical. Real new. Real good. With real fruit juices.
Skittles. Bite-sized candies.
Taste the rainbow.
At night, we turn on all the lights. There's no place that you can hide. No, no. The rhythm is gonna get you.
Catch the rhythm. Night Rhythms. The fragrance that dances till dawn.
Rhythm is gonna get you. Rhythm is gonna
If a man you never met suddenly gives you flowers, that's the impulse of Night Rhythms. Night Rhythms from Impulse.
I was shooting baskets when I felt a wild hunger. I had to eat fast. The ball was too big, so I went for my shoe. He came from nowhere. Big Mix. The chicken wolf moved to the Yakima Valley. What's he doing in Toledo? He gave me this.
Kellogg's Big Mix is mixed up as Big Mix himself with the sweet cinnamon and brown sugar crunch to tame your wildest appetite. Part of this complete breakfast.
Then he showed me how to stuff a basketball.
When your hunger runs wild, answer the call of Big Mix.
The House of Bargains celebrates the grand opening of 3 new stores just in time for back to school with savings like an extra 20% off our already low prices on winter outerwear.
BK Ambassador. BK Rich Nice Ambassador. Hammer! This is a mission that I'm on. Sporting BKs, I got it going on. I'm hyped. So let's talk. Hammer's in the bank and I'm ready to walk. Stepping with class. Oh, so funky and they're moving fast. Oh, British Knights. British Knights Ambassador.
British Knights, athletic footwear and apparel at Foot Locker and other fine stores.
Grandpa, did you want to be a doctor when you were little?
Well.
You would have been the best doctor, Grandpa.
Oh, you think so?
It's too late for some dreams, but not for others.
Come on over to our house. 227. So, honey, why don't you tell everybody how excited we are that 227 is going to be on 5 times a week starting this fall?
Well, you already told them.
Yes, so you can reinforce it.
227 is coming this fall 5 times a week.
And
we're really excited.
you don't seem very excited.
Look, beneath this cool reserve is a seething, smoldering core of red-hot molten excitement.
227, coming this fall to Philly 57. Coming up next, the laughs keep coming with Mama's Family.
Yesterday morning, Mrs. Block sees me eating Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Now the whole neighborhood thinks
He keeps his eye on nutrition.
he loves this choice frosted. We're talking serious.
Whole grain wheat.
Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheat cereal is an excellent part of this complete breakfast.
Why can't more kids be like him?
Woo!
Eric Hennigan, he's got the stuff of heroes, the stuff he ordered from Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Cool Grand Hill stuff from $1 to $8.95.
You can get your own stuff.
It's a brand new Kool-Aid Flavor Vision video. Tasty and styling. It's the new combo in from Island Twist.
Brothers and sisters, raise your hands. Oh, yeah. Meet a jamming new member of our band.
Slam, slam, slam. Strawberry kiwi.
Twist it up fruity like a stream, but it ain't mango berry.
Cause that be me.
Slamming. Strawberry kiwi.
The tasty new flavor from Island Twist.
Strawberry kiwi.
We put so many chocolate cookies into Hershey's Cookies and Cream. You get a mouthful of cookies in every bite of our delicious white chocolate. Hershey's Cookies and Cream. A mouthful of cookies in every bite.
Play the Crayola Room Full of Fun game and you can win the coolest room. To win, collect all 4 puzzle pieces in Crayola crayons, markers, and colored pencils, or win one of 50,000 other prizes instantly. To specially marked Crayola packages for game pieces and rules. Many will play, some will win.
Something has moved in with the Brownfield family. And so has terror. Child's play. You wish it was only make-believe. Rated R. Starts Wednesday, November 9th at the theater near you.
To enjoy the incredible Caramello, one must lean back. Caramello. For under the rich milk chocolate lies a luscious center of flowing caramel. The incredible Caramello. Lean back and enjoy.
Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Turn it up! Put the Ballsack balloon in the sack. Blow it up now, give it a whack. Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Hit it! Add a little coin, some water too. I fly real quick and now ain't that cool. Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Check it out. And here's my little buddy, the Ballsack Brat.
Us two Ballsack, so where it's at.
This is Brett. Turn up the fun with Ballsack. Turn up the fun with Ballsack.
Shoot the street, water power, you're super strong. Super tower, with super power.
Super Soaker Man, the robot with super soaker power. Now Cocoa Pebbles tastes more chocolatey.
And watch me get some.
A magic lamp. Teeny.
The Turban Dude's here to grant your wishes. But first I need something extra chocolatey delicious.
Try my new more chocolatey Cocoa Pebbles.
Looks more chocolatey. Tastes more chocolatey. Uh-oh.
Barney, my pebbles.
You're a genius.
Post Cocoa Pebbles cereal, part of this complete breakfast.
Hall of Fame. Destro, Cobra Mercenary, status escaped. You've got to track him down. Your ace, hotshot fighter jock, coming high with flight helmet, gun blazing. Or your Storm Shadow, ninja, blast like thunder, strike like lightning. Or your gung-ho, 100% Marine, highly decorated, the ultimate fighting machine. 12 inches tall, it's a whole new way to play.
Destro's strong, and all that's left is his mask.
I wonder what he looks like.
Find out with the G.I. Joe Hall of Fame collection, each sold separately.
Hello, my name is Crispy. How do you do? Crispy Critters cereal entirely new. It's indubitably delicious. Oh, here comes Crispy Critters, a good wholesome bunch. The low sugar cereal with lots of crunch. Yes, it's indubitably.
Indubitably.
Most Crispy Critter cereal is part of a balanced breakfast.
Welcome, everyone. Originally I had a live set up for noon, but about, I don't know, 10 minutes before I was supposed to go live, I got some news regarding an update in the Athena Brownfield case. And as we've been waiting for new details, this actually has some. So some new documentation was released. Cherry managed to find some of that for me. And we're going to go over, it's not a lot, but at the same time, it's a lot. I don't have the entire affidavit as of yet. But this screenshot has been floating around, and mainstream news media has been covering this and talking about this. So I'm sure you'll hear some other YouTube channels later on in the day go live about this and discuss this. At least I hope so. But yeah, I mean, I had a stream set up where I was going to talk about Strangler and dipshit Dolly and their just ridiculousness. And yeah, we're still going to do that. It's just going to be later on. But as far as this case goes, this is a very, very sad and disturbing development. And as you know, Athena Brownfield, 4 years old, she went missing after her 5-year-old sister was found wandering by a postal worker and claiming that she was hungry. This is obviously extremely, just that thought itself has been extremely disturbing. Again, still we don't have any information really as far as who her immediate people are. That in itself is very disturbing to me, that nobody seems to really be claiming these children. But like I said, it's also very possible that somebody has claimed them but has been asked to stay anonymous while law enforcement conducts their investigation so that their lives don't get turned any more upside down than it already is. I'm going to assume that that's the case because that would be the scrupulous thing to do. So I'm going to assume that that's actually the case right now, and just and give the family of this child the benefit of the doubt to some degree. Again, we don't know what circumstances have led to this particular development and this outcome. So until we get that information, then, right now we're just going to have to make do with what we have. And the way that it looks right now, at least based on what seems to be a confession by this Ivan Adams, I think his last name is. Ivan Neil Adams. It's very disturbing. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. It has been properly redacted. And what we've got here, it says here that the probable cause exists to cause the arrest of Ivan Neil Adams for the public offense against said county and state, to wit, first-degree murder. And that probable cause of the affidavit believing such facts exist as follow, to wit. On January 10th, 2023, 5-year-old AA, which would be Athena's older sister, was located wandering near her residence at 225 West Nebraska Avenue, Cyril Caddo County, Oklahoma, by the male person, which has been redacted, called the local police, and Cyril Police Chief Garrett Rainey responded. AA was forensically interviewed and disclosed she had been home alone and she is tired of being alone. Now, before I continue, I want to make it understood that whenever there's a child involved in any of these cases, because I'm really glad that they put that in the affidavit. Whenever there's a child involved in these cases where a child is a potential witness or involved in some way, shape, or form, what they do is conduct what's called a forensic interview, which means that they have a law enforcement agent who specializes in talking with children. And they specialize in talking with children, and so that's to make sure that they can get the children talking, obviously, but they obviously don't do it in an interrogating manner or make the child feel as though they are anything other than either a victim or just simply a child. So very, very touch and go. You know, kids tend to shut down. Kids tend to make things up in order to hide behind, to hide from the truth, because most of the time these are children who have been through a very traumatic experience. And I can't imagine that Athena's older sister, being 5 years old and being hungry, has gone through anything less than extremely traumatic. So AA was forensically interviewed and disclosed that she had been home alone and she is tired of being alone. Rainey received a call from one of the caretakers of AA, Alyssa Adams, who and we watched her. Alyssa Adams is the person whose TikTok that we watched and her Instagram post that we saw, and who asked where AA's 4-year-old sister, AAKA, was located. That would be Athena. At the moment, it was learned that Athena was missing. Athena's sister reported she called Alyssa mom and Allie, and called Alyssa's husband, Ivan Adams, dad and Uncle Ivan. That in itself must have been extremely confusing. Jesus. Let me there we go. Yeah, so the circumstances of that I find very, very interesting. I don't know if, and I wonder if that was even asked or if it's even relevant, but I'm just curious if these people insisted on being called mom and dad, or they just were desperate so much to have a mom and dad that they wanted to call them mom and dad. But obviously we know that these two are not Athena or her sister's parents. AA's biological mother, blank, left AA. Okay, so now we're getting to some answers here. Left the two girls in the care of Alyssa and Ivan approximately 1.5 to 2 years earlier. Alyssa and Ivan never took the two sisters to the doctor for checkups and did not enroll the older sister in school. Jesus. So yeah, we don't know why mom left the two kids. No idea. Now, apparently the paternal grandmother, which would be their dad's mother, the biological father's mother, apparently this person has been showing up and jumping on social media posts and claiming to be their grandmother, showed up at one of the press conferences and claimed that she was the grandmother. But the reaction from the OSBI spokesperson was very, very dismissive. So I just don't know what they know. But she seemed very dismissive, and I would even venture to say borderline disgusted. She seemed, because she's not getting any attention at all, at least not acknowledged by law enforcement publicly. So I have to wonder what circumstances there were, why, if she's so loud and claiming to be these children's grandmother, now all of a sudden, where was she in these 1.5 to 2 years? Why were these children left with these two people who are clearly unfit to take care of these two children, or even seem to even care to take care of these two children? Why wasn't dad available, and why wasn't grandma on dad's side available then? Again, I don't know. Could be a very valid reason, but I can't help but wonder. So if you guys are wondering whether or not I'm thinking the same thing you are, yes, I am. I'm just not quick to jump to any conclusions and just assume the worst. Now, a review of phone records for Alyssa and Ivan did not match with what they reported to Flores. On December 26th, 2022, between 4:15 and 5:30, Ivan's phone records show his phone leaving 225 West Nebraska and traveling to near Rush Springs, Oklahoma. Alyssa and Ivan had a previous residence located in the Rush Springs, Oklahoma area. Okay, so I guess he probably knew people there, maybe. And that's really early in the morning there to be, okay. They show his phone leaving. I mean, but that's a hell of a gap. I mean, if they're saying that they show his phone leaving that area between 4:50, they couldn't pinpoint exactly what time. I mean, that's a 45-minute gap right there. 45-minute window of when his phone was shown leaving the address. On January 12th, 2023, Flores re-interviewed Alyssa and read her the Miranda warning, to which she waived. So basically, they read her Miranda rights. If you guys don't know what Miranda rights are, it's basically the thing you see on TV where they arrest somebody and they say, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, so on and so forth. If you choose to give up that right, one will be appointed to you, blah, blah, blah. Now, apparently they were saying you don't have to talk to us. You can wait till you have a lawyer present, and she waived the right and she spoke anyway. Alyssa confessed that on December 25th, 2022, around midnight that night, Ivan beat Athena and held her up by her arms. Athena was not moving and her eyes were barely open. He then laid her on the ground and punched her at least 3 more times in her chest. Athena never moved after that. This occurred at the residence on 225 West Nebraska. Ivan then left around 1 o'clock on December 26th, 2022 with Athena. When he arrived back, he told Alyssa that he buried her near a fence line that was next to their old residence in Rush Springs. He informed her he placed a large broken branch over the burial site. Due to these circumstances, we believe Ivan Adams committed first-degree murder. So we knew that he had confessed to something. We knew that they arrested him based on a confession. That is apparently his confession. And what I didn't know, and what none of us knew, was that the witnessing of the murder had taken place by Alyssa. Alyssa saw this happen, allegedly, according to her. This isn't even his confession. This is her statement to the police after she waived her Miranda rights. So after she waived her Miranda rights, she admits to law enforcement that she witnessed Ivan beat Athena to death, or at least what appeared to be to death, until she was no longer moving, and then left with her around 1 a.m. on Christmas, literally an hour after you're supposed to start opening presents. Well, no, actually, no, the next day. That would be Christmas Eve midnight is when you would open presents, I would think. But it's kind of distracting, honestly. Sorry about that. Because I'm still trying to process this myself. My my father died when I was a year old. I'm not traumatized by this or anything. I have no memory of him. I was only a year old. And it was nothing, crazy and tragic. It was a brain tumor, and, it was the mid to late 70s when this took place. And he, it was just one of those things where they didn't see the signs and they didn't get to it on time. And the day that he died was December 26th, the day after Christmas. So Christmas is always real bittersweet for me. I mean, I don't put too much into it, but I just kind of keep to myself usually on Christmas, post Christmas. So, seeing that date and her dying the way that she did kind of just, I wouldn't say trigger. That's not a right word. It's just, it definitely, kind of clicks something in my head there. So it's a little distracting, but the fact that this is going to be, obviously besides little Athena being robbed of her entire life, 4 years old is just a baby. I mean, if you guys take into comparison right now how old each and every one of you are right now, it doesn't matter if you're even in your late 20s, but I know that my demographic, I've looked at my analytics and I know what my demographic consists of. And I know that most of you are over 30 and anywhere between your late 30s to the majority of you anyway, your late 30s to even early 60s. And if you compare 4 years to how old you are now, I mean, you look back at 4 years, it feels like nothing, like yesterday. Like for me, it seems like just wasted time. You know what I mean? Like 4 years just goes by like that. But to this child, when you think of how many years were robbed of her going beyond that, it is beyond a crime. It's beyond a sin. There's a special place in hell for anybody who has the audacity to get that angry at a child. A 4-year-old kid doesn't know how to be a bad person yet. A 4-year-old might do something that we consider bad, like steal something, like take something that doesn't belong to them, like say something that's really mean and hurtful, or they might they might be completely and totally selfish as far as what their needs are and what they want. But it's not because we're born bad. It's because we are blessed with something called free will. And when you're a baby, you don't know any better. And therefore, the way that things have worked since the beginning of the human species, since the beginning of time, because it's not just humans, it's that we teach our young. We teach our young right from wrong. We put the training wheels on our kids for playing their part in evolution and becoming a better species as a whole. The rules that we teach our kids, the rules to live by and coexisting amongst others and evolving and being better people, the basis of those rules are usually taking care of or considering the well-being of the people within your immediate environment. Putting yourself in other people's shoes, understanding where other people are coming from, realizing that your problems are just that, your problems. And other people have problems just the same as you. And so it makes sense for us to be considerate of others in that sense, to be considerate of other people because they have problems just that feel like that's dominating their world the same as you have problems that you feel are dominating yours. So we teach our children to have that sort of respect. And believe it or not, most children, by the time they're 4 years old, at that age, at least every 4-year-old that I've ever met was already getting the grasp of this concept and really enjoying it. That's the age where they start to draw pictures for you. And they say, here, I drew you this picture. That's the age where they say, hey, here, I have this many of these things. And they just started counting. So they go, one for you, one for me, and one for you, and one for me. And they enjoy the concept of sharing. You know, they enjoy putting together the concept of being able to count and integrating that with sharing with others. That's a beautiful, amazing age. And just when this little girl was learning how to become this sweet, amazing person, this gutless piece of shit decides to rob her of it. And his wife just decides to sit by and let it happen. And, you know, yeah, I mean, it sucks because if I'm one of these law enforcement agents that's working this case, I feel like they're dying to charge her with more than what they did. But I don't think that they could probably they probably don't think that it would hold up in court, which is probably why they only charged her with child neglect, because they can charge her with child neglect. That's something that they could prove in court. But she could always come up with a defense saying, well, he's bigger than me, he abused me, blah, 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 blah. So there's no way that I could have ever helped that little girl. Even though based on that affidavit, we're not seeing that that was the case, but she could always come up with that sort of defense and probably win. So prosecution's only going to tack on charges where they think that they could, things that they think they could prove in court. They probably won't be able to believe or prove and make a jury believe that she was complicit for whatever reason. So it's not a perfect world, people. And she was charged with neglect. It's something. Well, the songbird, that's a good point, maybe. But like I said, it's quite possible that based on the facts that they've collected, they don't feel that they can prove that in court, which is probably why they didn't charge her with those things. But apparently now I don't know if I misunderstood, if there was a confession on his part or that was the confession. Because so far they have not recovered Athena. Keep in mind that this arrest affidavit, I don't know when it was filed. It doesn't say here. It just says the dates of which the situations, the circumstances took place. But nothing here says, I don't have the entire affidavit. Once I get that, then I'll go over more if those things are made available. But this is what's been made available to the public so far. I would assume that it was leaked to some degree. Otherwise, the affidavit would have been made available. The entire affidavit would have been made public. But yes, this affidavit is exactly what led to his arrest. But they probably said, well, are you willing to testify against him? So there's probably where you guys are sitting here going, why wasn't she charged with more? They quite possibly cut a deal with her saying that we'll bring down the charges to only child neglect and not an accessory to what happened. And we'll bring down the charges to not child neglect if you're willing to testify what you just told us in a court of law. That tends to happen. And I have no doubt that this woman is the type of person that would absolutely turn on him. Yeah, Cherry's making a good point. She says she thinks she did more. I wouldn't put it past her. I definitely wouldn't put it past her. But again, if they were applying phone pings, I would assume that they were probably able to put her phone with him wherever he was. But then again, this is very interesting because it does say that the review of phone records for Alyssa and Ivan did not match with what they reported. So, like I said, it's quite possible that maybe her phone records put her with him as far as the disposal of Athena. And they decided, they said, hey, we could probably use you as an eyewitness to actually ensure a conviction on Ivan. And they probably cut a deal with her saying that if she had an attorney present, she waived the right to speak without an attorney, but it's quite possible that after the fact, she asked for an attorney because at any given time she's entitled to one. So whatever public defender probably showed up and said, okay, well, what kind of deal are you offering us here for a testimony? Now, I don't know if that's the case, and yes, Traveling Teresa, it has not been officially confirmed that Athena was autistic. She just had very limited verbal skills. But that could be due to the neglect as well. The neglect, if you neglect a child, you teach your kids how to talk. You know what I mean? You absolutely teach your kids how to talk. I mean, I just don't understand. That's and how hard is it, man? Because I mean, the only person that's going to be able to testify, actually, that's not true. Because you got to understand, there's also 4 other kids involved. Apparently, this Alyssa and Ivan have 4 other children. And I don't know what their ages are. I really don't know. As far as I'm concerned, they're innocent bystanders in this entire thing as well. They're children. But I would assume that at least on the oldest one, there would be a forensic interview done on that child as well. And they'll probably get a better idea of what the home life was like for those kids. So if there was ongoing child abuse taking place, then I'm sure, one of those kids would probably be witness, but it's very possible that they don't want to traumatize these kids any further than they already have been. It's quite possible that they don't want to traumatize Athena's older sister any more than she has been by probing too much in a forensic interview. Cases like this are extremely complicated, especially when there's a bunch of kids involved. Well, I mean, I don't know to what degree the 5-year-old saved herself. We don't know how long those children were in that house by themselves, or how long she was there by herself. Because what it sounds like happened was that if that's true, if that story is true, which I'm just not understanding, why they haven't recovered Athena yet. Because that's what I'm saying. If that story is actually true, well, then they've got a pretty narrowed down way of searching where Athena is. I'm sure they have dogs and infrared and every other possible thing, that they can use to find a shallow grave for a child. If they have basically a specific generalized location of where they're saying that she is. But so I'm finding it strange that they haven't found her yet. So if that story's true, I would think that they would have found her by now. But at the same time, there's probably some truth to it. I don't imagine that this is a very truthful woman. This is just her statement to law enforcement. Like Cherry said earlier, she suspects that she did more. Usually, yeah, I'm guessing that she probably had more to do with the situation if she was willing to leave the other child behind, which is what I was getting to now. Is the way that, based on this statement that she gave law enforcement, it's basically safe to assume that Athena's older sister was left in the house by herself, not with Athena, at any given point. She was just left there in the house by herself, starving. I mean, and why? I mean, was that their master plan? I mean, there's got to be drugs involved. There's got to be drugs involved. Like, their master plan is to basically kill this 4-year-old little girl, and then leave her older sister, who's the one who's actually verbal, leave her as a witness. Somebody's going to find her. Were they thinking that nobody was going to find her, that she was just going to starve to death? Did they lock her in a room, and did she find her way out? And that's why a postal worker was able to find her. Well, let's just be realistic about that. Spread love, no hate is saying not the adult, the baby saved herself. Well, did the baby take initiative to ask for help and find help? Sure, but make no mistake, the mail carrier is a hero. Make no mistake about that. I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, minimize the minimize what this postal worker did. She saw a little girl wandering by herself, and she took the initiative to make sure that that little girl was going to be safe. That's exactly what any decent human being would do. Anything less than a decent human being would probably still do that. So yeah, I'm not going to say that, you know, the little girl saved herself. Of course she helped herself. Her survival instincts kicked in, and she found a grown-up in a uniform that could be trustworthy, that could be trusted and found. Now, ironically, let's think about the irony in that, though. Just a few weeks ago, there's the other Athena case where it was actually a UP or a FedEx driver in a uniform doing basically the same thing as a postal worker does, and actually violated that trust in the worst possible way. So the coincidence between these two both being named Athena, and her asking someone in a very similar position as far as a station in life goes for help, and this one actually did what they were supposed to do. The other one actually did. It turned out to be something out of a nightmare, where you're a child and you're told to trust someone in uniform to help you if you need help and ask for help, and then that person in that uniform violates that trust in the worst possible way. I mean, that's the thing of nightmares if you're a kid. I can't imagine. General Crozier, I totally agree with you. They should have absolutely just given the kids to somebody, but apparently that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing somebody, according to Alyssa, Ivan either lost his temper or just cold-bloodedly just decided to beat this poor little child to death. The way it sounds is it was basically a crime of passion, and then they just decided to try to cover it up. Yeah, I mean, that's their job, though. You know, it's their job. Again, we have to think, people, like, these aren't, you know, law enforcement officers. You do got to give them credit, but this is what they signed up for and train for every day. You know, they trained for a long time to be able to execute justice based on our system of justice. Not justice as they see it. Law enforcement's job is to assess a crime, collect evidence, and make arrests based only on whether or not the evidence that they can collect will lead to a conviction. That's the only time they're able to place anyone under arrest. You can't just arrest somebody and take them off the streets unless you can prove in a court of law that they need to be off the streets. That's how it works. Yeah, true crime conspiracy investigator. I don't understand it either. I can never understand people hurting a child. Anytime I see one sick or hurt, I wish I could take it into myself instead of them. Yeah, I feel you on that. And to piggyback off of that thought, what I also don't understand is how a spouse can have any part of that in any way, shape, or form. I just don't understand. Because I mean, when you look at stuff like this,
And I want to thank my haters too because they be downloading my stuff so they can hear it and talk crap about it, but it benefits me. And I want to thank my haters.
This is somebody who witnessed her husband murder a child. Murder a child that was put in their care and didn't come forward. It was only because the postal worker reported Athena's sister to the police. And they wouldn't have even known that Athena existed. This is the scariest thought, folks, is we wouldn't even know that Athena even existed if it wasn't for her sister being found by that male person and her asking, "Where's my sister?" Think about that. How I can't think of, I mean, when I think of, like, let me explain to you guys my definition of hell. And even the Bible's definition of hell is basically like, there's one part that says that it's a lake of fire, right? But there's other parts that explain it to be basically you're out of God's eyes. You're just completely you're out of God's sight. You're in an absolute oblivion where you just simply don't exist and you only exist to yourself and no one else, nothing else. That's what the general definition of hell usually turns out to be. How's that any different than how Athena died? Now, I don't feel that's not to imply that's where I think she is now. I'm saying, can you imagine that feeling? Nobody would have even known. Think about that. Nobody would have even known or done anything about wanting to know where she was, asked any questions. Nobody. Not one person would have stepped up and claimed this child. I can't even imagine that. I don't know one child where they aren't the most important thing in the world to someone. Even like, there's even like horrible crackhead pieces of shit that are terrible parents. But if you put them on a lie detector and ask them, do you love your kid? they're going to be like, yeah, they're the most important thing in the world to me. You know, they're still going to like believe that they love their child more than anything in the world, and caring for their child is the most important thing. You know, like it's crazy to me. But even the shittiest crackhead fucked up parent in the world will still claim that their child is the most important thing in their life. Yet when it came to Athena, there appears to be absolutely nobody. And if her sister, except her sister, but if her sister had not expressed worry for her to the right people, they wouldn't even know who they're looking for. If her sister wasn't found alive, they wouldn't even know who they were looking for. It's just a really scary thought, man. To just be gone and absolutely forgotten. Like both of those kids. If nobody had found her older sister, she'd be gone too. And these two little girls who, in their world, are the only two people that exist. Her sister's each one, their sister is the most important thing in their life, their counterpart. And if the 5-year-old, the older sister, had died of starvation or anything else, these two children would have been absolutely forgotten, as if they never existed. I can't even imagine that. That's the closest thing to hell on earth. I just really hope I really hope that whatever is going on with these children's biological family, I just really hope that that whatever is going on with them gets fixed. Because I can't imagine. Well, yeah. I mean, Amanda Galusha, I mean, that's the facts of this case. This is the most heartbreaking case I think that I've ever talked about as far as the details go, because of the lack of details involved. Right? That this is probably the most heartbreaking case that I've ever covered. And yet, you know, I guess what's important is, I guess what's the most important things are right now is, what kind of person Brian Kohberger was or is, because that's going to really make a difference, you know, in our lives. You know, that's going to help people down the line. It might, but not a bunch of YouTubers exploring it, because nobody here is qualified. You have once in a while, you have like the former law enforcement channels that will discuss the Brian Kohberger stuff and say, you know, well, yeah, incel, so what? How relevant is it? Let me ask you guys this, and this is not attack anybody who's been covering this, but because the real reason, I don't blame them. A lot of people, they do YouTube and they're going to go with what the demand is. You know, the demand right now is Brian Koberger. Fact of the matter is, somebody talks about this. If I were to talk about Brian Koberger on a live stream at the same time that I scheduled this one, I would have probably about 500 to 600 people in my chat, not 300. Why is that? Because more people are interested. Because a guy who may or may not have the personality of a serial killer and a woman hater, well, that's just more fascinating. For some reason, it's more entertaining. You know, so I don't blame the creators. It's just, you know, the people just would rather be more entertained with the glamorization of a killer. Because make no mistake, that's what's going on at this point, you know. But I'm telling you, like, what difference does it really make whether or not he's an incel? What difference does it make in your life whether or not this guy's an incel? Gives a fuck. So he hates women. Most guys who kill women hate women. This is not a shocker. This is not a new revelation. Somebody who sits there and murders 3 women and 1 guy who happens to be there, and these women are mutilated in the most heinous, disgusting way, and you can tell that it's rage. Like, isn't it fair to assume? I mean, all the thought that's going into this is just mind-blowing to me, because it's just total unnecessary overthinking. Occam's razor, people. If you got a guy who decides, okay, well, I'm going to kill these women who I don't know, and I'm going to do it with a knife, and I'm going to stab them to a point to where they're almost not even recognizable, that's an act of anger. That is an act of rage. And yet he doesn't know these women. So is it such a fucking stretch that he hates women? Is it worthy of us sitting around and going, oh my God, did he hate women or did he not hate women? I don't know if he hated women. Did he hate women? Of course the guy fucking hated women. That's the only logical motive for his anger towards these people that he didn't even know. I don't know why it doesn't show up on my stream here, so I can't highlight it, but Scarlet Summer, welcome, member for 2 months. Keep doing what you do. Much love to you and all this community. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just crazy to me that there's just all this. Oh my God, let's get to the bottom of Brian Koberger. Like, I talked to a guy who talked to a guy who knew a guy who talked to a guy, and he says that Brian Koberger liked to talk a lot. Wow. Fascinating. Riveting. It's just crazy to me, man. You know, and then you got that, and then you got what I'm going to talk about later on, which is Don Wells comes out of the woodwork. I guess he gets out of jail. What does he do? Starts talking to YouTubers again. Awesome. And now you've got these idiots that are acting like an interview with Don Wells is somehow striking gold. Dude, like... It would take me more effort to find somebody in the true crime community that didn't talk to Don Wells than it would be to find somebody who actually did. Don Wells has talked to everybody. I've talked to Don Wells on this channel. I didn't even reach out to him. Now, I have reached out to Don Wells. Don Wells doesn't even know that I've reached out to him. I've sent him messages that he hasn't even read yet. Right? But he's sought me out. and showed up on this channel. Everybody has talked to Don Wells. Fucking everybody. So when I see these people going, oh my God, I can't believe that Dolly got an interview with Don Wells and he's actually defending him in some sort of way and blah, 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 blah. Like, so listening to these idiots fucking squabble is entertaining and it's funny. And that's what I was going to talk about at noon today. But that's going to wait because that comes to the back seat, to say the least. It doesn't even ride in the back seat. It gets dragged by the bumper to something like this. I mean, it's so crazy to me. And that's nothing against Don Wells. You know, like I got no problem with this guy. Like I don't have any evidence to dictate that this guy is a bad person. I don't have any evidence to dictate that. I've been saying it forever. I have no problem with this guy. I'm not trying to say anything negative against him, but the one thing that I would criticize him for is just spreading himself so fucking thin all over every goddamn YouTube channel. And it's always the wrong ones. You know what I told Don Wells when he was on here? Stay the fuck off of YouTube. Stop going on YouTube channels. You're fucking up your own daughter's investigation. Stop it. You're making things worse for yourself. Whenever somebody who the public is crucifying and pointing the finger at and blaming them for a crime, whenever the public is doing that, the worst thing that they could do is open their fucking mouth. Because they're going to take every single thing that's taken that comes out of this person's mouth and they're going to pick it apart and twist it to mean whatever their narrative is. Even something as simple and as straightforward as, I do not know what happened to my daughter. And all I want is her back. Something that simple is going to be twisted by these assholes into, oh my God, did you see the way that his eyebrow moved when he said that? Did you see the way that his tone changed for a second there? Did you see how defensive he was? Only somebody who's defensive, only somebody who knows what happened to their daughter would get that defensive when accused of something to do with their daughter's disappearance. That's the kind of shit that you're not going to escape from. Every single fucking time that Don Wells goes live and talks to somebody, somebody's going to take whatever he says and twist it up to mean whatever the fuck they want it to mean. And then he's going to reveal things about his personal life that's going to give them more fuel to judge him. You know how hard it is to sit there and go, you know what? I don't see one fucking thing, because I don't. It's simple in that sense. I don't see one thing that makes Don Wells guilty of a crime. But at the same time, when I see him get fucking wasted drunk and go on somebody's live stream on somebody's channel who is known for exploiting victims, and he gets drunk and he goes on that live stream and he's pilled out or whatever the fuck, and then he gets in a verbal, borderline physical fight with his wife on somebody's fucking live stream who's trying to discredit him as a person, well, then what the fuck am I supposed to think? How am I supposed to defend that? And then he just keeps doing it. Then he goes to jail for God knows how long, and then guess what? He's on the path of doing it all over again. First thing he does, lets Dolly into his house. Dolly of all fucking people. And now Dolly, having the worst credibility out of almost anybody that I've ever spoken to, is now defending him. Now, how do you think that's going to look to anyone else who already knows how Dolly works and how he is, and now he's got Dolly behind him? You think that's going to make Don look better or worse, having somebody like Dolly behind him? In theory, you kind of think, all right, well, that's a good thing. Because all the people in Dolly's chat that were trashing this guy are probably now going to understand where Don's coming from, but they're not really going to understand where Don's coming from. What happened was Dolly went over there, hung out with the guy, and it hasn't changed the facts that Dolly doesn't fucking listen to any facts. He just saw a guy, turned out to be a nice guy, and now he's like, I'm not quick to judge the guy so much now. And everything that I just said means nothing in comparison to the one simple fact that all of that adds up to, which is it's a fucking circus. It's just a big fucking circus. Summer Wells' case is, I mean, the only prayer that she has is law enforcement. And even they seem discouraged based on the shit that has taken place on social media involving Don, involving Candace, and involving every other fucking YouTube channel that decides to fucking throw them onto a live stream for clicks and views. I mean, it's just insane, man. Because when it comes to this Athena Brownfield case, I'm obsessed with wanting to know what could have been done to avoid her ending up in the care of those two people. That's what I want to know. That's where I'm at. My head and my heart are stuck there right now. What could have been done? Was there any alternatives aside from those two people? Did these children have any other option? That's where I'm at. And that's what I want to know. You have the Oakley Carlson case. The Oakley Carlson case where this little girl disappeared out of Washington, and she had foster parents, and her foster parents were very loving, very able people, created a very stable home environment for this little girl and other children as well. And they wanted to adopt her, and they wanted to take care of her. And the system took her from these loving parents, these loving foster parents, and put her back with her natural parents. And then after that, she disappeared. She goes missing. Nobody even knows when she actually went missing. The last time she was seen was a month before she was even reported missing. The system absolutely failed Oakley Carlson. And there's actually a update, which I was just about to get to, Compost Tacos. There's an update in that case. See, hopefully the system there, at least law enforcement's end of it, is probably doing whatever they can to make sure that Oakley gets justice and they find out whatever the fuck happened. Because she got arrested. She got released from the charges that they were holding her for in the first place. She was released of those charges, and now she gets arrested again for identity theft. Now, I don't know the circumstances, but it seems to me like they're doing anything they can to just keep them locked up until they find out what happened to Oakley. So keep your hopes high as far as getting answers for Oakley Carlson. But again, that's a case where the system failed that little girl, just like Gabriel Fernandez. So hopefully we can find out if there was a way that the system could have helped Athena and her sister, and we can hopefully try to come up with some sort of solution and push for a way to prevent this from happening again. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. I will see you again at 4. And we'll have a little bit more fun we'll have a little bit more fun with that one. But I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys joining me for this. And again, any more details that come out in this case, any more information that comes out in this case, I will go over it. But thank you guys for joining me in the middle of the day, and we'll do some more later on. All right. I love you guys very much, and we will do this again very, very soon, my friends.